great to be connected this nice evening, this Saturday evening. It's 7:20 in Vilnius. I guess it's 6:20 at your place.
6:20, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have some nice hour to spend in the discussion. And first, can I ask you to say something about yourself?
About myself. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, okay. I'm a professor of art. I lecture in art philosophy. I have seminars. At the moment, the last few years, it's been Vilnius Art Academy. Um, I've worked in Oslo at what's called Oslo Met University for quite many years, but not anymore. Also worked at the Royal College of Art, and I worked for some years at Goldsmiths College of Art when it was, during the 80s when it was kind of the place to be, I suppose. So, yeah, I'm from Wales, and yeah, I speak Welsh. I have to say that we're a little country, have to get it over. And other than that,
That's about
yeah,
being proud. That's cool.
yeah, we are, yeah,
Yeah.
we somehow survived. So yeah, but I left Britain many years ago. Most of my life has been spent in Oslo, Norway. But I sort of 50-50 between Vilnius and Oslo, and maybe that's about enough, right? Yeah. Oh, I'm an artist as well. I forgot to say. Yeah,
Yes.
I exhibit.
So I will tell a bit about myself. So my name is Gleb, as you can see, and I see that in chat we have nice comments. So some people recognize me. That's cool. I'm a creative technologist mainly and immersive artist. I'm working in, let's say, in the interconnection of art and technology for last about 30 years. And my main focus is to create some impossible connection which lays in the creative approach to technology and to art. Lately, I was one of the NFT and creative AI pioneers on the global scene, and a lot of innovations that I'm just creating day by day are making lives better. And that's, I guess, one of the beauty of technology in connection with culture. So that's quickly about me. Jan, I have straight away a great question to you. In last discussion that we met at Art Vilnius, you were talking about postmodernism, but in reality, you said that you would like to be more, let's say, focused on multimodernism. So, could you please expand on this? What is exactly multimodernism and why it is important?
Okay. Yeah, I remember the move from modernism to postmodernism, and I remember everybody kind of going wild about this change. I never thought it was such a big change. I understand that certain things happened. Of course, I understand that. But I never liked the word postmodernism very much. In fact, I never liked the idea of post at all because I see in it something that is destructive in the sense that post truth, however true that may be, which is a kind of irony in itself, um, can be destructive. You know, we're saying it's like language. You say, I lie, then language falls apart. Are you lying that you lie? Or, you know? So, anyway, afterwards, you get people like Bourriot who talks about alter modern, and everybody somehow had enough of postmodernism after about 30 years of it, or, you know, it came roughly 80s, somewhere end of the 80s. And I think that the fall of the Soviet Union is very important in all of this for the West. because they somehow believed that they'd won something or other, which, yeah, never mind, that's another story. But I feel that need, in fact, artists stopped using the word postmodernism. And so Burio came with this ultramodernism. Yeah, it's probably quite a good one, but to me, it was a very simple thing. I thought modernism just simply went on. I never saw any particular change other than the fact that you're driving along one motorway, if you want to use a metaphor, and suddenly the motorway splits into 1,000 motorways. And I think that's what postmodernism was. It was just modernism, but with a huge choice. So you couldn't kind of stay thinking, well, this is true, that's not, this is not art, this is art. And so that's where the idea of multimodernism came for me. And so I coined this phrase. So instead of ultramodern, I would use multimodern. And I have done in my first book, which was Unfolding the Cards. And I've expanded on it in this one, which is Memories of a Future, which should come out in around, I guess, January, I would imagine. So, yeah. Does that explain it for you? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting that a lot of people are trying to pretend that they understand this thing, and we are doing it like this. So in reality, they're choosing one of the small ways, roads,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're driving the same way.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I guess if you've got 1,000 roads, you choose one anyway, and maybe you go down some side road, but you're still on the same one. Yeah, I think that's human. But I just got a bit worked up about this idea that I understood that, modernism was kind of had some very simple faults, if you like, that were quite severe too. Progress is something I don't particularly believe in, which sounds strange, I'm sure. But I know there's progress in my smartphone or, things like that, or in a laptop or something. I understand that progress, but I don't understand progress with people because people seem the same to me. They never seem to alter, good and bad, But I still feel that what does change us probably, obviously, is the possibilities. It's like, and then the possibilities do more than just take war, for example, which we've always had. We've always seemed to go to war at certain points, and we can be pretty gruesome when we get going. When that changed in the beginning of the last century, when there was technology, if you like, there was much more advanced means of killing people or bombing cities, then we go ahead and do it, but we also change. We do it differently, and we begin to attack local people, or if you like, we sort of involve everybody. I don't want to go into details there, but it's more than so. What I'm aiming at now is to say that when there is an opportunity to change because of technology, if we're not careful, that technology also changes us. And I think we forget it. We just think, oh, wow, my smartphone does that now. Hey, that's great. Google is now connected to Microsoft, is connected to, wow, this is good. And we should, I talked with you before about that. And I know you're a very positive guy when it comes to this. And thank God for that, because we need to be involved in what I call the discussion. For me, that's tremendously important. When I talk about art academies or whatever they are, for me, it's always a discussion. That's what it should be. And the same in schools, even kids, 6-year-old kids should be able to form the way the school is run. Then we might get a discussion instead of just filling people with all sorts of information. And by the time they finish school, they come out ready to absorb anything that comes their way, instead of a discussion where people say, hey, I don't know, I'm not so sure about that bit there, and then I think then we advance in a different way, so yeah, I think progress, like I said, I haven't seen it much, so I'm looking forward to see it in people, actually.
But if speaking about the progress, for example, right now we're using technologically advanced tools, and we kind of changed already minds
Yeah.
in that direction. So isn't that already a progress?
Yeah, of course it is. And we're using it in a good way, but it could be used in a bad way too. So that's where the discussion needs to come in. Do you know what I mean? I think what you're doing for me is very valuable. I am in no way trying to say we shouldn't have technology. Some people do. People like Neil Postman earlier was very much against technology because he claimed, and he's one of many who says that we actually think less and we become stupider. You know, these were typical ideas. Yes, I understand him. But at the same time, I think it's vital that, uh, well, as I say, it's vital that we have a discussion, actually. That's what it's about. And that means changing us, changing schools, changing, you know, academies, but changing the way we are too. And that's not so easy. So yeah. So for me, that's the vital aspect up in all of this. And then things might move in the right direction, and we need to change a little bit too, actually, somehow. We need to not, you know, always become violent, for example, or this mob mentality. Because Canetti talks a lot about that, that the crowd ends up thinking, you know, like one person. I mean, if the crowd thinks good,
Which one is directing?
yeah, you know, and that's what happened in the revolution, for example, in Soviet Union. You know, it was, or it happens anywhere where there's a crowd, and it's not always bad, but you know, I think we just need to be aware of what we're capable of, and I think that would make a huge difference. You know, and be generous. You know, what's wrong with being generous? You know,
That's
I mean,
all
I go
okay.
what.
All okay.
It's good, eh? You
That's
know, I mean, I
normal.
go around the city and I smile at people and they think I'm a lunatic or something, you know, they say, shit, what's wrong with this guy? Should we, you know, phone for the van or something? But, you know, if you go around with a sour face, they think, oh, that's a normal guy, you know?
That's normal, just normal. But I'm always, for example, I'm always walking smiling. So I don't know if
I
it's
can
normal.
imagine. I can imagine. Yeah. So if we're both going down, that'll really, really
Okay,
go.
that's already something good. So when you're talking about the academy and all that stuff that you are teaching and so on, main question. So I know that you are on the physical side, on the traditional side, and
Ah,
there is a lot of examples how art going digital to virtual world and so on and so on. So like yesterday, no, not yesterday, already day before, Facebook announced this
yeah.
metaverse
Yeah,
expansion.
yeah.
So probably most of the I don't know how many it will be from them on the art side, but definitely there will be a lot, just because they dig in all this NFT and all this stuff. What is your opinion on this? Let's say not exactly just metaverse, but this combination of art going into virtual reality and living there instead of appearing in a physical space in a real world.
Hmm. I guess I'm not so bothered about it, strangely enough. Yeah, I make large drawings, and as you know, they talk. And so, if technology can help them talk, great, you know. So, I think art anyway is actually a system, so that anybody can't, well, anybody can walk into a gallery and look at my work, but they may not be able to, if you like, enter the discussion in the same way. It could be interesting, whatever way they do, but it's a system, and therefore you need to know a few ground rules. A little bit like driving a car. You can't just jump in the car and kind of drive off. So, therefore, if actually looking at a painting or a drawing or whatever, or an object, is a system that requires a certain degree of understanding, a certain degree of knowledge of maybe even a few theories here or there, minimum, you know, there's not such a leap for me when it goes virtual. I see where that could go wrong, and I see where blockchain might stop that, but I couldn't care less about the price of art. It's, yeah, okay, maybe somebody else cares. That's fine. I don't. It's not my world. I'm not interested. I'm interested in other things. Um, so, you know, yes, galleries might find it a bit weird if, you know, but they'll find a way, I'm sure, to buy and sell, you know, virtual art too. That's not the issue for me. So if it's a bit like Benjamin says when it comes to copy, I think that could be positive. I mean, what do people see? Take Mona Lisa or something. I mean, how many people have actually seen the Mona Lisa? You know, everybody's seen, but what they've seen is a photo, a copy of it.
Exactly.
And so on with most of the, you know, great works of art. So I don't see, so what's going to be the difference? You know, in that sense, we're used to seeing copies. And it's not like one, but many. And you know, Benjamin talked about the aura of this one thing. Yeah, maybe that's true up to a point. But I showed you once this, you know, Alvidas made this video of my black drawing. Okay, it's not my black drawing, but it also has a presence that my black drawing doesn't have, if you like, you know, and for me, that's rather interesting. So for me, the important thing is that art creates a discussion or starts a discussion. And if it does it virtually, that's okay.
So if let's say as an example, your black drawing, if it will be placed in the metaverse and it will be a, let's say, a driver for discussion, would it be uh, so what's your opinion on that use of your work of art?
Fine.
So
I have no problem with it whatsoever.
it's like it's not some. Okay, another example. Right now, we're participating in a metaverse festival,
Yeah.
and this one going globally all around the planet. So people, like we are right now talking in the real world, it is streamed into the virtual world, and from there it's streamed to different locations all over the world. So
Yeah.
hopefully our this multiverse connection will be a driver for discussion of other people who are
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
interconnected
Perfect.
some way.
Perfect. Exactly what I want.
So that's as an example. So
Yeah.
uh, is it one of the things that maybe not only we but more people should think about, that use art not as the thing that they're using mainly to express themselves just because they want to express, but for something that will start a discussion. So let's say use this as one of the guidelines when creating art.
Absolutely. I mean, all I could say that perhaps would alter, as far as I understand, is that my drawing that I was referring to is 5 by 3 meters. It's very big. Consequently, it has a presence, physical presence. Of course, that, for example, I put that out on Instagram. It was really funny. And I also put a little sketch that I made, which was kind of, you know, I don't know, like 30 by 40 centimeters, you know. And that sketch gets more likes than the, you know, 3 by 5 meters. And because they're both reduced to the same size. And perhaps the sketch managed that better. So, okay, when art gets used in that sense, it may alter and it may be used for other reasons. Okay. I think for me, the main thing is not that it remains the same, because it can't. And anyway, art doesn't remain the same because it changes over time. when we look at Greek buildings, we look at these columns, and I'm sure a lot of people think, wow, must have been nice in that time walking around with all these white buildings. Well, they weren't white. They were colored, So that's just one thing. That's a physical change. And of course, things also, the Malevich's black square cracks, for example. That kind of thing happens. But something far more important is that we change, time changes, and the artwork changes too. So the discussion around an artwork that may be 30 years old or 300 years old changes in time. And I find that tremendously interesting and very worthwhile. So when it goes out virtually and you have no control over what people think and say about it, I find that tremendously interesting, actually.
And then straight away I have a question. So if it's changing with the time, isn't that something special that might be a feature for the virtual world? Just because you can create something and like, let's say, give a birth to some alive piece of art or piece of music, and with the time it will be changing with all these generative algorithms and so on and so on, and that's already something that will be even affected as how it was, let's say, 200 years ago and what it is now. It's changed naturally with the time. Here it will be straight away. It will have this. It will have this impulse that will just like give it push to change, for a change. Is that the thing that you would like to try, or you would just accept that? Just because you, for me, a great example of the classic school, and you have own views, and that's fantastic. Just because I'm from the new generation, I'm thinking in still I can wear this obsolete label, but it's completely different.
Yeah. Well, like I said, more important for me than the art object, the art piece, the physical, is the discussion. And the discussion is exactly what you're saying. The discussion is not controlled. That's the whole point. If it's controlled, I lose interest. And any kind of metaverse that is controlled, I would lose interest. I mentioned, that algorithms can cause problems. I think it was Brexit was one. I mean, okay, I'm from that country, and I was not happy with it, with this, result. But I would have accepted it, except that I thought that algorithms were then used in the wrong way to yeah. So that kind of control, if I could control the way my drawing is met and discussed, I would lose interest, actually. I don't want to control it. If somebody says, wow, that's a big black thing, oh God, it's so, oh, it really frightens me. I say, okay, that's interesting. Maybe it does, and somebody else. I mean, one of the things with that particular drawing that was interesting was you don't know if you're inside looking out or outside looking in. And it's called Way Out.
From which side?
Yeah, right. So the actual drawing itself isn't going to help much either. So in one sense, it's traditional, and in another sense, it's absolutely not. I mean, it's a conceptual work of art because it has the problem of each time it gets shown, I draw on it. If you remember, I think I told you. So eventually, the fact that let's presume the drawing has some kind of, I believe a little bit in the idea of resonance, morphic resonance, which is a guy called Sheldrake, Rupert Sheldrake, who almost, okay, he wouldn't say the drawing has any conscience, actually. but people have, trees have, animals, and so on. And something strange happens when this is the kind of stuff I believe that when, if I remember rightly, I can't remember exactly what it was, something that they did to maybe rats in one country, that rats on the other side of the planet learned from. How the hell did they do, that kind of stuff. So, okay, he would say,
That's the multiverse connection again.
that's the multiverse connection. So, he wouldn't go along with the drawing has a conscience, but let's presume it somehow did have, in the sense that it thinks, shit, every time I'm so looking forward to be seen again, but I'm getting closer and closer to suicide, or whatever you want to call it, But what is interesting in all of that is not that. What's interesting is if that drawing does travel around, who knows? I mean, for example, Gilbert and George, when they were exhibiting their work, they suddenly got the idea that they wanted to exhibit it in the Soviet Union. And as far as I know, I may be wrong, but I don't think the British consulate or the British consul were too keen on that. I don't think they gave them much money, so they funded it themselves. They also exhibited in China. Especially in China, something happened because Gilbert and George's work fitted perfectly into, a Chinese mentality. And I mean,
that's paradigm.
Wow, that's interesting, And what do I know? Maybe in the Philippines or somewhere, there's something that might resonate with the way I draw or something. And so, yeah, that's something I'd like. And who knows? Maybe I'll even create virtual stuff anyway.
And that's fantastic.
So,
That's the great
I
thing.
don't have to just draw.
It's again the thing of expression, but you already have this idea inside when you're starting that it will be a discussion. So it's a completely different way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I see that our time is running close to zero. So we have 4 more minutes.
Okay.
And I think maybe you have some, I don't know, some words to younger generation like me or even younger who are active in this new space, in this virtual reality, in this digital world, but still, I'm pretty sure that we are still connected to the physical one. So what we should maybe not forget.
Okay. Wow. Well, it's going to appear both optimistic and pessimistic, but I think that only, when you're in this kind of a discussion, I think it's important to be aware of the power of certain words. And I think young people should not, I mean, it's very important when you're young that you're optimistic. It's tremendously important. Nobody should be I mean, you need to be optimistic in your 20s for sure, and even 30s and 40s. So be careful of the words. And again, discuss the words that sound so wonderful, like freedom. Is it really positive? Or is it, like some people say, freedom simply to consume? What is freedom? Is it just freedom from something? People talk about freedom all the time. I'm so glad I'm free. Well, what does it mean? And I think we should keep asking those questions. And by doing that, then we empower ourselves, if you like. And also we should connect to people who we resonate with, to use a word that's used a lot now. People that you feel, yes, I could talk to that person, then do. I mean, it's the same with me. I tell people, young people, to just text me or phone me. It's going to be all right. I mean, at the worst, I'll say I can't do it now. So, it's important to be positive, and it's important to take part in a discussion and to form it as well. I think the young people should form it more than anybody, more than I do, for example. And I have a lot to learn from them. That's why I like to be with, people in their 20s, for example. I learn a great deal. So.
Fantastic. So thank you very much for your time and for your advices and for sharing your point of view. Just because it's really important to, I believe it's really important to share such points of view that are not that regular ones, with all the people who connected with digital. And right now, I think it's the great moment that we can be as much in power as we, I don't know, maybe that's only the moment where we can drive this technological stuff connected with culture in some positive way. So thank you very much, and hope to see you in the metaverse with your works very soon.
Thank you, Gleb.
Okay, thank you.
Bye bye.